Thank you to Bullseye Admissions for sponsoring this video.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's your boy, back at it again with another Minecraft video, and today we're going to be talking about college consulting. If you've fallen into the rabbit hole of college decision reaction videos in the past few months, you may have heard of a service called Bullseye Admissions. But even if you haven't, just to get you guys up to speed, Bullseye Admissions is an up-and-coming college consulting service that aims to help its clients along every step of the college application process. And since you're watching this video right now, you may be wondering if their services are worth it for you. Well, you guys came to the right place, because Bullseye recently invited me to check out some of their services and let you guys know my thoughts on them. So as I'm reviewing their college consulting services, I'll be taking on the role of a high school student that is going to be applying to college. Mostly focused on top tier colleges like many of the ones that I actually applied to. And we'll be seeing if Bullseye can help me along the way. Just as a disclaimer, this is a sponsored review, but everything I'm going to be saying is my own honest opinion, because to do otherwise would be to go against my ninja way. Staying honest with you guys, now that is a pro gamer move. So the first thing I'll be taking a look at is the essay review, where a Bullseye advisor reads over an essay of my choosing and gives feedback on how I can improve it. The essay I sent in for review was the first draft of my Common App essay. You may have seen my video on reading my final Common App essay, but that finished essay came a very long way from my first draft. The general idea of my essay stayed basically the same all throughout writing it. I was focusing on my time in South Korea and my relationship with my host brother, but besides that, the two essays are completely different. So let's see what my Bullseye advisor thinks of my first draft. So jumping right in, we have my Bullseye scorecard, which is essentially the rating system that Bullseye uses to score your essays. As we can see here, essays are scored based on their organization, grammar, fluency, and voice. For each metric, you're also given a percentage, which gives you a rough idea on how you're doing in that category. I got an 85 in organization, a 95 in grammar, an 80 in fluency, and a 70 in voice. I wouldn't be too focused on the specific numbers, because this rating system is just how Bullseye does it. That doesn't necessarily mean that other schools are going to use the same system. I would use these numbers to roughly gauge how you're doing, but I would be more focused on the actual comments for each category. So for organization, my advisor said that the non-chronological nature of my essay was kind of confusing at times. For grammar, my advisor said that I did pretty well throughout my essay. Under fluency, my advisor said that I use a lot of passive voice and that my sentence structures and phrases are a little repetitive. And as for voice, my advisor said that I need to use more of the show don't tell rule, and there are certain details that I could work on to make my essay more unique. So far, I definitely agree with everything that's been said. So let's take a look at the comments my advisor made on my essay. Just looking at it, I can already see that there are a lot of comments, which is really good. A lot of these comments are on more grammatical things though, which at this stage this essay is currently at isn't the most important thing. I think in the earlier drafts of your essay, you want to focus more on the story you're telling rather than focusing on making it grammatically perfect. Obviously, it's not a bad thing to make grammatical revisions at this stage, but I don't think it's the biggest priority necessarily. So there are a lot of comments on my essay, and I don't think you guys want to watch me go through every single one. So I'll just pick out a couple highlights to go over. In my essay, I wrote, "I was able to truly develop as a person while having such an enjoyable experience, and that is why it was so hard to say goodbye." And my advisor said, "The self-reflection you're striving for is admirable. However, what you have here is too general. In your previous paragraph, you will have demonstrated how you grew as a person during your study abroad. Here you should elevate that reflection. Discuss why breaking out of your shell was so important to you. Discuss how forming such a quick, intense bond with Kon affected you and your values. I think that's a really good piece of advice. In my first drafts, I kept saying that I changed as a person as a result of my relationship with my host brother, but I never really went into why or how that happened. And since this change in me is one of the things I really wanted to focus on in my essay, it's kind of important that I elaborate on it. So it's really good that my advisor pointed that out. Alright, so another comment that I really liked came at the end of my essay. So I wrote, "But as the bus pulled out of the school, I turned my head out the window to see Kon chasing after the bus and waving with the same bright smile he had the day we met. And then came the tears." This got really cringe. There was an effect I was going for with this closing line, but it didn't really work, so I ended up scrapping it from my final draft. So my advisor said, "This is a very effective conclusion, moving and clearly written. You evoke the response you want from your reader. I felt emotional reading these final lines. However, you must remember that your conclusion is the final impression you'll leave on your admissions readers. With these sentences, you want your readers to walk away feeling that they've learned something fundamental about you. Right now, you're simply communicating that you cared about Kon. However, in your conclusion, you should communicate something about your worldview or your values. Perhaps you could reflect on a lesson you learned from your relationship with Kon." Again, that's something that I really agree with. Many of the people that I had read my first draft said the same thing, that the closing line of my essay was really emotional and impactful. But just like my advisor said, that closing line, while it was emotional, didn't really show that much about who I was as a person, and also how I grew as a person from the start to finish of my essay. So I'm really glad that my advisor pointed this out to me. So at the end of my essay, my advisor also wrote me a message that essentially summarizes all of the comments that she made, and a lot of what she says echoes a lot of the concerns that I had when I was writing my essays, which is really good to see. So the essay review service usually costs $98, and considering the number of comments you get and the quality of the comments you get, I would say that that's a really good deal. I've seen some similar services that charge a lot more than this, so considering the value that you get out of this, I would say it's well worth it. Next, I have my advisor call on Google Meet, which is basically where I can talk with my advisor about any topic related to college applications, whether that be building a college list, applying for financial aid and scholarships, preparing for an interview, whatever you want to talk about. For my call, I requested to go over profile development, which covers some of the things that I myself worried about going into senior year, like my course load for senior year, whether or not I should retake standardized exams, extracurricular activities, that kind of stuff. I'm about to hop into a call with my advisor, so I'll check back with you guys later. I'm done with the call, so let's talk about it. In that 30-minute call, we essentially did a very brief overview of my entire high school career. We went over my transcript and talked about my GPA and my course load, and I asked questions about how I could stand out academically in the applicant pool, and I got some pretty good advice. I also asked questions about whether or not it's worth it to retake the SAT with a certain score, and we had a good discussion about diminishing returns, which I really liked. We also talked about subject tests, and my advisor recommended that I not submit my Math 2 score because the percentile for my score wasn't really that high. In my actual applications, I did submit that Math 2 score, but even then, I thought that was a pretty risky move. My advisor suggested that I either try to retake Math 2 for a higher score or take a different subject test that better aligned with my intended major. And although that's not what I actually actually did in real life, I still think that that was some pretty valid advice. Lastly, we talked about my extracurricular activities and how I could maximize my impact in them. And she asked me some really good questions that really made me self-reflect. She brought up some points that even I hadn't considered. It made me think some thoughts that I've never even thunk. Overall, I would say that was a pretty productive call. We did have to spend a decent portion of the call going over information about myself, which is understandable considering that's the first time we've talked about that stuff. I imagine that if you're on one of their plans, your advisor would already know this information about you, so you could spend more time asking questions and getting answers in your call. I would say that about half of that call was me telling my advisor about myself, and even then, that was some really good advice. So $30 for a 30-minute call, I would say is very well worth it. I know it's possible to ask these questions online on places like Reddit and get answers for free, but since those kinds of places are mostly anonymous, a lot of the advice you'd be getting would be pretty general. On the other hand, you'll have some private college advisors that charge ridiculously high, like hundreds of dollars per hour. So I'd say that booking an advisor call with Bullseye takes the best of both worlds, because you'll get some pretty solid advice without having to empty out your wallet. Overall, I would say that Bullseye offers some pretty great services. When I myself was applying to colleges, I didn't use college consulting services like these, but I think that's largely due to the fact that I had a really good support network around me. I had a number of mentors that I could turn to for essay help or application advice. I was fortunate to have those kinds of circumstances, but obviously not everyone's gonna have access to those same kinds of resources. If I had been in a position where I didn't have those kinds of mentors, I definitely could have seen myself using these kinds of college consulting services. And since the essay review and advisor call comes together at around $130, it honestly wouldn't hurt to try. If you're in a position where these kinds of resources are already available to you, essay editing, application advice, financial aid and scholarships, interviews, if you already have the resources to help you along every step of your application, maybe Bullseye isn't for you. If you're not in that position where those kinds of resources are already available to you, and you think you need some additional help when applying to colleges, then feel free to give Bullseye a try. In any case, Bullseye has some great free resources that you could try out. Bullseye offers free webinars on different topics like the Common App, the Coalition application, gap years, summer opportunities. So if you're interested, I definitely recommend you guys check those out because they come to you at the low cost of free. If you're interested in what Bullseye has to offer, feel free to check out their website using the link in my description. And to everyone watching this video, good luck on your college applications. And I think that's gonna do it for today. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave a like and comment down below. And don't forget to subscribe for some more great content like this. That's all for today, folks, so I'll see you guys next time. Bye!